Hare Krishna and peace be with you, world raisers. Sabine and Roger here. Let's watch how Krishna and Jesus Christ are connected from the YouTube channel TRS Clips. It is Easter time and it is time to cover the Master Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so the amount of festivals that we cover on this channel, 90% Sanatan Dharma, you guys all know. So let's be a little bit compassionate towards the Christian time of year, Easter. So this is about the Hinduism and Christianity Link. And we know it's highly controversial. But anyways, we're interested in it, so we want to watch it. And we love Ranveer. His podcasts are very insightful. He gets experts. We're not too sure who this one is, but we're going to watch it. And then we're going to discuss it and then see what's up, if the link is, proven or what the link is. Let's find out. So if you want to find out with us, and if you like our discussions and etc., hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. We've got to open our hearts and our minds to seeking the truth, because in reality, we're all ignorant beings and we don't really know nothing.
Now, you're someone who was raised as a Christian. When you came to India, did you have some kind of relearning to do in order to absorb this concept of what deities are? And say if there are Christians watching this, what and how would you explain what deities are and how is it related to God? Or are these sort of demons? Are they angels? Is it a version of something related to demonology? Like, how would you go about explaining this? Because I feel it's a fundamental philosophy that needs to be broken down in this episode as well.
I think to answer that question, I have to start off by saying that there is reality and there are structures that people create to assist them to connect to reality.
Nice.
So a religion, in Sanskrit, often we use the word sampradaya. So a sampradaya is a particular way of doing things. There are particular rules, there are particular attitudes, and like the Pushti sampradaya, they follow what Sri Mahaprabhuji Vallabhacharya taught, and following those rules means that you are part of that Pushti Sampradaya.
And the goal is always spiritual evolution?
The goal is always spiritual evolution. Now, different people, different Sampradayas will have quite possibly different goals. So the goal of the Pushti Sampradaya is Lord Krishna, Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Nice.
The goal of the Shaiva Siddhanta is Lord Shiva. The goal of the Ganapatya Sampradaya is Ganapati. So the goal of Christianity is Yesu Christa, is Jesus. There are different sects, different religions have different goals.
So you're saying that within Hinduism, there's actually multiple different religions as well?
Absolutely. And Vimalananda himself never liked the word Hindu. He said, it's a Persian word.
Yeah.
And why should we be defining ourselves as, in a Persian way? Hindu, of course, is a corruption because the ancient Persian and Sanskrit are close together, but the Persians use H, whereas Sanskrit uses S. So instead of saying Sindhu, they said Hindu. So that word Hindu is really Sindhu. That's the Indus River. So the people who live around or beyond the Indus River, they called Hindus. Vimalananda preferred to think of himself as a Vedic, someone who was following in the path that comes originally from the Vedas. So Agora, for example, and Tantra, they emerge from the Atharva Veda. There are 4 Vedas, and the Atharva Veda is in some ways, the youngest Veda, but in other ways, it's even older than the other Vedas. It comes from paths that are not mainline to the Vedas. So,
cool.
A sampradaya is a sect, a religion. Vimalananda believed, as do I, that what's more important is reality. The religion, the sampradaya is important. And if you're in a certain sampradaya and you're following it, you should observe its rules. But he always used to say that he personally did not believe in sampradaya. He believed in sampradaha. And sampradaha means incineration, that you should burn down all of your concepts, burn down all of the limitations you have in your mind, and recognize that there is only one reality behind everything. In the Vedas, they say, ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth is, there is only one truth. But those who know truth, every one of those individuals will describe it in different ways because they have each individual has a different perspective on truth. Each individual has a different perspective on reality. So when it comes to me, for example, I never, the Christianity, the religion with all the restrictions and I never had much of an affinity for that. I had a strong affinity for Jesus of Nazareth, for the Christ. And I developed at an early age a personal relationship, which I've maintained up until now.
You're still connected to Jesus Christ?
Absolutely. He's my Kula Devata, my Kula Guru. Kula means family in this case. Kula means many things.
Kind of like
but in this
guru.
case, it is the religion of my Kula, of my family, of my physical ancestors.
Yeah, lineage.
And as Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said once to somebody who was considering changing his religion, he said, "Can you change your father?" So it's like that's something that even if I don't focus a tremendous amount of attention there, that will always be present. I will always acknowledge that. And Vimalananda himself was a devotee of Jesus Christ because he believed, as do some other people here in this country, that both Christ and Krishna were amshas, were portions of the Rishi Maitreya. And so that they're both avatars, they're sort of like brothers or cousins or something. So for him, worshiping Jesus and worshiping Krishna was almost the same sort of thing because he also did not regard sectarian worship of Krishna or of Jesus as being important. He regarded having a personal relationship with both of those as being important.
I'm a part of something called YSS, the Yogoda Satsang Society, which is Yoganand Paramahansa's school. And we worship 6 gurus, of which 2 are Jesus Christ and Lord Shri Krishna.
Yes.
Love that.
There's many Hindus who get offended that I place a photo of Jesus Christ next to Krishna, and there's many Christians who get offended that I place a photo of Krishna next to Jesus. How do you explain it to people who get offended with these concepts?
Yeah, please.
Because
explain.
everyone's kind of living in a world now where they think, no, my religion is superior to your religion, without understanding what reality truly is. Would you like to dive a little bit?
I mean, it really does depend on who I'm talking to. So if I'm talking to someone who is very much tied down to their sampradaya, to their sect, whether it's Christian or Hindu or Muslim or anything else, or Zoroastrian, I've spent a lot of time with Parsis and Iranis.
Cool.
I recognize that trying to explain precisely how I see things may not get me anywhere. So if they need to feel that I'm a Gnostic or a kafir or a heretic or something, I let them feel that way. But if it's somebody who seriously wants to understand that, I try to explain that, Jesus made it very clear that there was one reality. And Krishna also made it very clear that there was one reality. What is most important, in my opinion, is to recognize that for every individual, there is a particular path in a particular incarnation that is going to work for them best. For many people, it is one devata one God, one guru, one direct path. For some people, it is not so much one as having more than one. That doesn't mean having 20 and having your attention divided among those 20. That means having a direct connection to whoever it is you're having that connection to. And if that connection is one that you can honestly say to yourself, being very calm and very introspective, that is genuine for you, then that is genuine for you.
Nice.
Totally.
If I sincerely believe that the supreme reality has ultimately no name and no form, no qualities whatsoever, that it can take on any qualities that it wants to, then I can certainly feel when I am worshiping Jesus that I am indirectly worshiping whatever other devatas I may have a relationship with. And I have a relationship with certain devatas, like Ganapati. I lived here in Maharashtra for many years, and I have a direct and very genuine and sincere connection to Ganapati. But I personally, they are different externally. They are different in their qualities. They're different in how you worship them, but they are still manifestations of that one supreme reality.
Which people refer to as God.
Which people refer to as God. Now, the problem is sometimes that, let's say, Christians, they refer to God as Abraham was thinking about God, and so do the Jews, and so do the Muslims. And Abraham, certainly, to have created these religions that billions of people worship, he must have been quite a guy. But still, that doesn't mean that he was perfect. And he had his own limitations, and partly they were the limitations of the time he lived in.
Totally.
That was back in a time when sacrifices were happening. Sacrifices were happening in the Vedic religion also. Sacrifices were happening everywhere. And that's why Jesus came along and said, I will be the sacrifice. You forget about all this sacrifice thing. And Jesus defined his religion very clearly and easily and simply. Number one, God is love. And number two, love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. And remember that anything that you do is going to come back in your direction. I mean, he called it the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And remember, he was explaining to people who did not have the advantage of abstruse philosophical thought like the people here have had for thousands of years.
Totally.
So he was trying to explain the law of karma to them. If you do to somebody else something that is violent, the law of karma is going to send violence back in your direction. It may not be today or tomorrow. It may be after one more incarnation or 10 incarnations, but that's going to happen. That's the nature of the universe. That's Newton's third law of motion. Action, reaction.
Your kind of guy, hey?
All I gotta say is good job, Ranveer. Whew, every time we watch him, I'm just blown away more and more and more by his level of understanding, right? And then just what he must have had to go through, and he touched on it briefly. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. Like, how can he have Krishna and Jesus together? Well, we're kind of in the same boat, right? So yeah, you got to be a seeker. You first have to surrender your, beliefs and your ideas and what's been handed down to you by others, and then you got to truly search in your heart. Otherwise, you're just within a limited identity of believing what you believe without inquiring as to why you believe what you believe, because we're talking about an ultimate reality that is beyond form. So yeah, the speaker here, do we know his name? Can we look for it? Because I
hope so, but
I thought he was
Dr. Robert Svoboda.
Dr. Robert. Well, anyways, yeah, he seems very knowledgeable, very insightful, very wise, definite seeker. You can tell just by he went after it. He went after the truth, and then he understands it on a very high level, right? Because the forms ultimately, yes, in Hinduism in particular, Sanatan Dharma, we have the murtis and we have the form and the image, which is, it's incredibly important. But at the same time, we have to realize that the form itself is coming from non-form. Whether you believe that the form is ultimate or not, it's still going to happen. Like Krishna as form is still going to create a non-form reality mind, if that's what you believe, if you believe his form is the highest, then this universe is going to manifest from the non-form that he creates for it to manifest in. And then the form that he takes within that non-form is going to be his form, but it's still coming from the non-form, right? So it's tricky, I get it, but ultimately the unmanifest is manifesting as form, right? So then, which is great for all spiritual seekers at this time on this planet, you know, what works for us, but at the same time understanding that there's an ultimate reality that's not limited in any way, and that there's other avenues that will work for others. Because even the teachings themselves and the teachers, they're very limited to the culture. And then that, I totally agree. Jesus would have had a heck of a time teaching some of these really profound truths to people that were really indoctrinated in their own beliefs at the time, that were, you know, very, you know, anti what he was saying. And then he became the sacrifice in the way that he just allowed what was happening to his body, which was not really him, it was just the form. But he knew that he was beyond the form, so he allowed it to happen the whole time, maintaining his purity by not fighting, by not raising a hand against anybody else, by not becoming angry towards others as they were torturing him and then ultimately crucifying him. He was praying for them, right? So incredibly advanced spiritual being. There's no denying that. So yeah, and then the problem in today's society now is that a lot of people have done horrible things in his name. And it's still happening.
Stop it.
Right? So, yeah. And then the best way to do that is, you know, to pray for the sinners. So you can even pray for those doing horrible things in the name of religion, because they are ignorant. And ignorant people, they don't know that they're ignorant. They think that they're incredibly smart and wise and enlightened and advanced while they're doing horrible things, thinking that they're spreading God's message, when it's entirely ridiculous. So then we need to recognize ignorance, and then we need to pray for them. They know not what they do, and be like, you know, at the same time, don't put yourself in harm's way. And then if you need to, stay away. But we need to cultivate the wisdom within us and compassion at the same time to be able to be fortified within the truth that has been revealed to us through our understanding and our practice and our deities that we worship and that we've gained guidance from. Right? And then we can be, you know, wise, and then we can better deal with these people, with the ignorance. Because ultimately, the world's not going to transform for the better on its own. It's up to us. It's up to the spiritual seeker to kind of rise up, you know, surrender the fruits of our actions, but understand that we do have a certain level of understanding. If you've been a seeker for a while, you're going to have some understanding and some insights and some realizations, so we can own that, right? And not just be passive and submissive, thinking that that's what spirituality is. No, we have to do our Dharma and our duty and stand up for the truth, right? Even, you know, however that's expressed, right? We gotta be that in the world.
I love it.
Right? So...
Have you ever heard what he mentioned in regards to Jesus and Buddha being brothers or cousins, stemming from
Maitreya? No, I haven't heard that. That was fascinating, and that's an interesting vantage point, and it might be, you know, more directly accessible as a reality perhaps than what I did in my mind. So in my mind, I just linked them together. What's my journey? Nobody has to understand my journey, but I see Jesus and Buddha as brothers, and I see Krishna as the father. And I know that's going to insult and upset a lot of people. How can Buddha have a father when he denied God? Well, you got to investigate, but Buddha never actually denied God. It was depending on who he was talking to. If somebody was really attached to the idea of God, then he would say that there was no God. For somebody else who denied God, he would say that there was a God, right? So just like other scriptures, some things have been mistranslated and misconstrued, but there's no way Buddha would have denied ultimate reality. He just taught it in a different way. Nice. So, yeah. So for me, Krishna is very clearly teaching in the Bhagavad Gita that he's the source of absolutely everything in existence. So being the source, Father. And Jesus very clearly wasn't saying that he's the Father. He was saying that he's one with the Father. Thus, he's the Son. The Buddha left the Father and the Son out of it and said we can do it on our own. Thus, Holy Spirit, pure consciousness, which is the indwelling soul within us. And then even, he could deny the soul, deny the Atman. Because the Atman, in reality, when you're thinking about it, it's just a mental construct because you're understanding something through the mind. And that's just an understanding. That's not the real thing. So he even denied that. So the Buddha is very much the teachings in the path of negation. You're denying everything that you are not even holding on to an Atman as an idea that is you, because you got to deny that, because an idea of you isn't you. It's just an idea, right? So negation, whereas Jesus was more affirmation, right? God is everything. We're one with God, right? Same with Krishna, right? So they're, in my mind, they form a manifested trinity. Anyways, that was my journey of understanding reality, and I'm still a seeker, and I'm still learning and growing and evolving, and nobody has to believe what I believe. Doesn't matter to me at all. But I like what he's saying is that we need to respect each other's paths because it's an entirely internal experience. And if you don't, then you're still just doing what everybody's been doing for ages, saying my way is the only way and you're going to go to hell if you don't believe what I believe. We need to let go of that as a human species, right? And understand the limitations of the mind. It's ignorant, it's delusional, it doesn't know. It can know about, but until it's experienced the ultimate reality, then it's still just concepts.
Wow. Roger's in a flow.
Yeah. So that's why, it hurts sometimes when Jesus gets a lot of hate. But Jesus, and he doesn't deserve that, right? Yeah, his followers, or people who claim to be following his teachings, they've done a lot of horrible things, right? But as spiritual seekers, when there is somebody who's teaching truth on that level, you got to try to understand it, right? And when you do understand it, then you'll be like, well, Jesus was an incredibly advanced spiritual teacher, right? And then a lot of people misunderstood his teachings, and then that's that. But he's not to blame. No way, Jose.
I love listening to you. Nice talk.
Yeah, so for those of you who made it through that, made it to the end of this video, thanks so much for sticking around just to kind of listen what I'm laying down. Please don't take offense to anything I've said. You're free to believe whatever you wish to believe. I'm just becoming more open and free with how I understand reality. Nobody has to believe what I believe, but let's be kind. I respect you and I trust you that if you've listened to that, you're on the path and you're a seeker. And that's what's most important. And I honor you for doing what many people in this world are not doing yet. Seeking the truth. Raising your level of consciousness, your understanding, your wisdom, your vision, and
raising the world. We love your friends.